And just like that, Shawn, it's Monday. We're back. And then tonight, as our special guest, we have with us Evangeline Downs announcer, Rob Tuel. Rob, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So how pumped up are you for Wednesday? Are you in the mirror practicing your calls, getting ready for Wednesday?
It's going to be like Christmas morning. I'm on, I wouldn't say pins and needles just yet, but I am pretty fired up and pretty excited to have the live racing back here in Evangeline Downs. And so I'm working on the first night's program for my selections, and we'll watch a little basketball later and probably do the Thursday card as well. And just looking forward to it. But yeah, super excited to have it upon us real quick.
So you're talking about the basketball game tonight. You spent some time in Kansas calling races, right? So are you pulling for Kansas tonight then?
I have a wager on Kansas for tonight, so I will be pulling for Kansas. It was a brief stint calling races at a wonderful place, Eureka Downs in Eureka, Kansas, about 60 miles east of Wichita. And that's kind of how the dream kind of got started. There were some gaps and some blips along the way, but I had spent a couple fun summers in Kansas.
So before you got started in Eureka, so tell me, did you just like wake up one day and say, I want to be a horse racing announcer? Where a little kid, did you watch races and call them out loud while they were on the TV screen? How did you get into this, what I would call really kind of like, I want to say niche, but I'm sure that when you tell people, when they ask you, what do you do? And you say, I'm a horse racing announcer, they kind of give you what did you just say? Did he just say what he said? So how did you get into that?
Well, I've been following him since I was a kid. Exarban in Omaha, my dad loved going to the races, and we would go couple days a week, and then we had a Wednesday night golf league, and we would go catch the last couple after golf league. But growing up, they didn't allow kids into the grandstand, so they parked cars in the infield of Exarban. So I spent tons of summer days in the infield. Dad would drive in, he'd leave me with a program, and I had looked at the form before we had gone to the track. So I had some selections picked. So Dad would make a couple wagers, and, midway through the card, he'd bring out a hot dog and a Coke, make sure I was okay. But you couldn't hear the PA very well in the infield. Terry Wallace was the announcer at that time. And kind of just to entertain myself, I would stand on the roof of the car and I would call the races, just like I said, really more just kind of entertain myself, and then kind of realize that, hey, that's a job. Somebody gets to come to the races and call the races. Somebody gets to do that for a real job. And, so it was kind of like it was a dream forever that, man, how can I get into that job? How can I find a position to do it? And, really I had, didn't have a communications background or any kind of broadcasting background. And, seemed like that's kind of where you could get a foot in the door. You had to have some sort of, production background. And so one summer, I was just I thought it'd be a neat idea. I sent emails to just kind of pick some tracks around, a couple 100 miles around Omaha, just asking, hey, can I come down and call a race? I just want to do it once just to say that I did it. And, hey, great. That's really all I was looking for. And when I contacted Eureka Downs, it just so happened that their announcer was actually going to be leaving to take another position after, he was going to be there for a couple weeks and then he was going to leave. And so they needed an announcer. So I sent them a tape and they said, hey, do you want to do it every weekend for the summer? I said, sure. What, greatest thing ever. So that's how I got the first job. It was really just kind of, splatter the wall with some emails and hope to get a response. And then kind of how it led into the Evangeline job. I worked with Michael Chamberlain at Lincoln Racecourse in the summers of 2010, 11, 12. And I was the paddock host there. So where these tracks, you have the pretty face, you have Acacia Courtney, Maggie Wolfendale, Brittany Yurton, Lincoln Racecourse had me. So, so little step down.
The ones that you just mentioned are very jealous.
And but I worked with Michael Chamberlain for a couple of years, became good friends. We stayed in touch, and then he got the Evangeline job, I think in 2015 or 2016. And he was down here for about 5 years. And when he was leaving to go to Hoosier Park in Indiana, he sent me a message. He said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I haven't told anybody yet. Here's a chance. If you want to try for one of these jobs, I'll give you a recommendation and see where it goes." So last April, it was really kind of a whirlwind month for me. I interviewed on April 1st. The following week, they asked if I would fly down for an in-person interview. So I was down here the following week. The third week, the Saturday night, they called and offered me the job. Basically gave me about 8 or 10 days to get out of my apartment. I needed to find a little better vehicle. And I left town on the 23rd of April, and we started on the 28th. So, the first month was kind of a blur, just getting on the road and getting down here. And but everybody has been fantastic from the first moment I got here, from the management of the racing office and the casino management. They've just been awesome. So it's really made it easy. It's really been a very easy transition. And I've loved every second of it. I to be honest with you, I haven't worked a day. I get to come to the racetrack and they pay me to show up. I mean, there's nothing greater than what I've kind of stumbled into. So I'm loving every second of it.
So before that, what were you doing?
I actually worked for a steel manufacturing company in Omaha. I was there for about 10 years. I was kind of a runner on the shop floor, but nothing. I'd worked in the casino industry before. I was a pit boss, craps dealer. I've been involved with gambling in some form or fashion since I was about probably 5 years old. So, always wanted to get into the horse racing industry. And the reason I play a Powerball ticket is so I can go to Keeneland and start my own stable. So I've always been involved with gambling in some form or fashion. But the dream was always to be up in the booth and calling them. And it's happened.
Amazing.
Absolutely. Hi, Rob. Thanks for jumping in here. So when you were a kid and you were announcing, what was true on what you expected and what was a little bit more difficult than what you thought of as a kid announcing?
I don't think anything has been like anything more difficult as far as like what the job entails. I do have to write press releases for our stakes races, and I do the press releases for like our season opening stuff. And I haven't done a term paper or anything like that for about 30 years. That was probably the hardest thing. But Don Stevens over at Delta Downs, he's our the sister track. Boyd Gaming owns both of the tracks down here in Louisiana. He's been over at Delta Downs for close to 20 years, and he's kind of the go-to guy. So he's really been helpful. He helps me a lot as far as when I write these press releases, make sure that they're formatted well, make sure they're, the wording is correct, or spelling out numbers and all that stuff. So that was probably the most difficult thing about it, actually, is that I have to, do these press releases. And the first couple took a while, just to kind of, I was a little wordy in some places, not wordy enough in some others. But as the summer went along, again, with Don's help, they've gone pretty good. So that might be the most difficult part. And then, but as far as the race calling and stuff, I mean, I follow racing. I follow it pretty intently. I'm a fan of the game. I'm a handicapper. I do bet on the races, so I follow them pretty closely, and I'm into it. I've been into it even differently than just the announcing part. So most of that came together pretty well. Learning some pronunciations of cities' names, some of the horses down here. But I always, if I have a question, I'll ask. I'll get your name wrong once, but it won't happen again. So
even jockeys, we've had some of the jockeys on, and even the jockeys are hard to pronounce their names.
And even when we ask them, they pronounce them differently every time.
Yeah. Jared says very interested in learning about this track. No clue about it. So if you're like Jared and don't know much about Evangeline, what would you tell people?
So Evangeline Downs, it's in Opelousas, Louisiana. It's about 2 hours slightly northwest from New Orleans. We're kind of like right in the center of the state. We're a 1 mile oval. We do have a 7 furlong chute, and then we also have a 7/8 mile turf track. The turf track also has a chute, so we can run a 1.16 mile turf race as well. Last year we got seemed like we got rain 4 days a week. We spent a lot of time. We washed a lot of the turf races off the turf. The track played very fair. Tim Thornton and Carl Broberg will be the dominant figures. Broberg actually lost the training title last year for the first time in a number of years to a former assistant, Eduardo Ramirez, actually beat him in the training title. But Broberg and Thornton will certainly be the main players, the key figures. But the track last year, even with all the rain, it played very fair. I'm a fan of closers. I've always been a fan of playing closers, and the track really did play nicely. If you used horses to come from the back of the pack, they did run well. So, but again, like I said, it's a mile oval, 7/8 turf track, so we can run them all. So we're just hoping for a little better weather, a little luck. We do have some races that they're going to try to get on the turf towards the end of April. So fingers crossed, we get a little rain and just enough to get the grass green, and we'll be ready to go.
Are there any new faces in town for this meet?
We do have a new apprentice, Vicente Del Cid. He had a pretty good season over at Delta Downs. He was a apprentice over there, won quite a few races over there. So he'll be one of the new faces. Aubrey Green is expected or anticipated to stick around for the summer. Last year, she rode for about the first 3 weeks of the season, and then she moved her tack to Delaware. But they are anticipating that she's going to stick around for the whole season. So those will be a couple faces. We have a couple riders from last year that had some accidents and won't be around. That'd be Diego Sainz and Ashley Broussard. Diego was actually the leading rider here last year, but he's not expected to be back just yet. So, but Vicente Del Cid, again, the apprentice to watch. He had a pretty good season, and with that 5-pound weight break, that's always useful. I find it especially useful going a route of ground. So we'll see if he can have some success this summer.
Aubrey Green, I actually met at Delaware. I actually got to break the news. She's going to start off at Evangeline, and she's going to go back to Delaware. She changed her mind at the last minute there with that. So
okay, well,
but she can always change it back, right? For sure.
Breaking news. Here you have it.
Absolutely. So, question for you: that night racing. How do you like that?
Well, honestly, my old man eyes. I prefer like the afternoon. We are going to move the post time up to 5:30 this year. We had started at 5:50 the past few years. So it's a 5:30 first post. So again, I think it's one more race in the daylight hours. But our kind of niche, and the same with Delta did move to daylight racing due to lighting issues. They lost the lights in a hurricane last year. But really, Delta and Evangeline Downs is kind of a nice little niche of racing in the evening. Again, moving up the post time, we kind of piggyback right off the finish of like Keeneland and Belmont as the summer goes in. So you get done betting some Belmont, you cash the late double, you'll have about a half an hour, and we'll be ready to start. So, the evening racing, I had always played a lot of it. You work during the day as a working man. You play the evening tracks if you're going to play during the week. So I do like the earlier start, though. Like I said, I'll get one more race in before the sun starts to go down. But it's good. And last year with the COVID stuff, we didn't have a ton of people out at the track. So we're hoping that this year things go a lot smoother. Hopefully more people, I think people are ready to get outside. I was up at Oaklawn Park this weekend for the Arkansas Derby, and it was packed. I mean, and there's no more fun place to be than a racetrack that is absolutely packed. And it was great. The weather was great. Just people loving to be outside watching the races. And we won't get any crowds like, 40,000 people at the Arkansas Derby, but it will be nice to have, nice crowds outside enjoying the live racing. So we're excited about it.
It says there, how do you compete with Penn and Charlestown with some of the popularity?
Louisiana racing's pretty strong. Louisiana racing as a whole is a pretty strong entity, and a lot of the people who ran at Delta, they'll move their stables over here to Evangeline. The people at Fairgrounds who maybe not, have the second tier stables per se, they'll come up here as well. So we're anticipating to have a full backside. The barns will be full. And again, if the turf racing, if we get a little better help with the weather and we keep the racing on the turf, that's one thing that Charlestown doesn't have. We have a turf track, and Charlestown's a fun track to play. It's one of those a bull ring, six furlong track. But that is one advantage we have with the turf track down here. So makes the night racing, gives us one more added advantage over those two. But I think, like I said, Louisiana racing is strong. It's got a strong backing down here, and I think we'll have good fields and we'll have some strong cards that people will want to be wagering on this summer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? I always interested in how announcers keep track of the horses. Do you do the whole color coding thing on the program like the night before?
Well, I'll memorize. I'll go through the program and memorize the names that afternoon. Not memorize each. I won't have all 100 horses locked in my brain, but I'll read through the program. So I've got them in my brain. I've handicapped the card, made selections on it. So I've seen the names. So I kind of also get a feel of, hey, how are these horses? Where are they supposed to be placed? And then when they come out onto the track, then I do have a pile of markers, and I'll mark off their silks. Our jockey caps are color coded. So the cap is red, the cap is white. So it's not like house silks like your smaller tracks. Some of the smaller tracks, they do have the house silks where the one jockey wears red, two wears white. Those you can kind of memorize them and kind of cheat a little bit, knowing that they're locked in like that. But I do markers when they come out onto the track, and I'll look for is somebody gray. I'll make my notes as far as jockeys gray, shadow rolls, if they're similar silks, and then I do kind of a memorization. I usually lock 3 of them in at a time. I'll get the 1, 2, and 3 locked in my brain, 4, 5, 6 locked in my brain, 7, 8, 9, and then I'll go backwards. Do that a couple times, and the trick to it, I guess, and there might be guys who do different, have different styles or different ways of locking the names in. The trick is to flush them out so you don't call the one horse in the 4th race the one horse in the 5th race. Kind of get that little refresh and make sure you're not crisscrossing names, but. And that's the trick that I use. Like I said, I don't, there might be guys. I know if you've ever seen Pete Aiello in his booth, I'm not sure he actually spends any time memorizing. I've seen him. A buddy of mine sent me a video of him doing it, and he spoke all the way up until they got to the gate, and then he was ready to go. So he might have photographic memory or something. I don't. I will lock them in, reading them off to myself. I'll read them out loud, and it's like I said, there might be guys who do it differently. That's kind of my way of doing it, and but
I think Cam Newton's keeping track of it for him.
Well, and I worked at UPS delivering. Helping on the box line at UPS about 20 years ago, and I had to learn all the streets like 60 streets from Dodge Street, which is a center point in Omaha, all the way to the north end. So I could rattle off the 60 streets in a row because that was part of the job. And the UPS manager actually, he kind of helped me. Hey, here, that's the 1, 2, 3, doing the streets 3 at a time, or the names 3 at a time. That's kind of the way that I started trying to learn them to remember them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, Pete, he has no reason I said Cam Newton because he has a Cam Newton bobblehead in there.
Yeah.
So Cam Newton's yelling him out to him. Hey, it's the horse.
You see his Carolina Panther pain every Sunday if you follow him on Twitter.
Yes, indeed. So when you forget, and I'm sure it's happened to you, like, oh, what's that horse's name again? Do you just throw out the number? What do you do when the brain goes blank? Because I can use some advice on that.
Well, now I do have a sheet that'll be right there in front of me at the window. So I'll be standing, I'll have my binoculars, and I do have a sheet right there. I have the daily program, and I do blow it up a little bit so it's the easy
old man version.
But I might, if I go brain farty, it's funny because when it's happened in the past, and I go back and I'm probably my biggest critic as far as, you missed something on that race, or something happened. And when you watch them back, like what a gap that seems forever to me, people watching the races might not even notice it. So when I do have the brain fart, I do have a second where I can pull the binoculars down, I can look down and go, okay, and then I can get back into it. And while that gap might have been, 3 seconds, when I listened to the race, it sounded like, man, what were you doing? It sounded like an eternity.
Mm-hmm. But
most people, or a lot of people, when they're watching the races, they won't even notice, maybe you just took a breath, or, so. But like I said, I do have the sheet right there. So, or I might, filler words, I guess, would be the key, is if you, kind of start back over at the front. If I forgot the 5th horse, if I go back to the front and start over, it might jog that, hey, that's where they're at. So, but again, like I have the cheat sheet in front of me. So the hope is that the brain farts are few and far between.
Maybe I should do that. Here's mine. It's empty. So Jared wants to know what's the average handle there at Evangeline Downs?
Well, last year we had some pretty good handles. We have, I would say, our handle is probably less than Delta most nights, but you'll get win pools with 30 to 35,000 in the win pool. Exacta pools, we'll get 55, 60,000 was a routine exacta pool. So you're talking, when you fill in the trifectas and stuff, our handles probably, we might get to close to about about 2 million for the night. About 200,000 a race when you add in the exactas, trifectas, superfectas, win, place, and show. And then you also hope that you have, 8, 9, 10 horse fields also will help those pools. We do have some good fields drawn for the opening week. And again, we're just hoping for some good weather to keep the horses in the races. And hopefully those, if I'm picking winners, I hope the handle will go up a little bit.
Yeah, well, you're the face of the organization and the voice, so it should work.
Reinvest a little bit. So
yeah, absolutely. So in terms of Evangeline Downs, I have noticed when I actually like playing Evangeline Downs because I feel like there's a couple of prices every day. It doesn't seem to me that it's a top heavy track. I know you mentioned a couple of trainers that tend to dominate down there, but as far as on any given night, it seems to me there's some prices that hit pretty regularly there. Has that been your experience? And why do you think that might be?
Well, I think you get a lot of evenly matched fields. Is one of the keys. The Broberg and Thornton combo, they're going to take money regardless of if that horse looks like he has a chance or not, which really can be a good benefit if you like somebody else, because you might think you're going to get, he might be a 4-1 horse, but because Broberg and Thornton are taking extra action, now all of a sudden he's 6-1 or 8-1. But you get a lot of these horses, they're evenly matched. It's kind of weird because some horses do not run at all at Delta. They'll come here to Evangeline Downs. They've got fit over at Delta, just kind of they run them into shape over there, and they come to the mile racetrack over here, wider turns, longer stretch, and they run big over here. It flips around too. There's some horses that run good here that just can't handle the tight turns over at Delta, and you can use that to your advantage as well. But I think that's the main thing, is that you have a lot of evenly matched horses, and they may have run a clunker last time out. Maybe just didn't have their day, and they can come right back the next time out, and all of a sudden they're 10-1, 12-1. And, so there always seems to be one horse that you're like, wow, how did he pay, $25 to win? He was 4-1 last time out. Today he pays $25 to win. I did pick I had a $51 horse that won the 2-year-old stakes race on the last day last year. His name is Feisty Fist. He broke his maiden on a muddy track. And it just so happened the night of the 2-year-old stakes race, well, it had rained all afternoon. It was a muddy track. His previous race was at Louisiana Downs, and he just didn't really do anything. I think he might have finished 6th or 8th in that one. And he loved the mud. And it just looked like he would fit if he liked the mud and the others don't. Well, I think that's where you can catch some prices too. Some horses, like I said, last year we caught a ton of rain, and you get some horses, they'll run just kind of goofy freak races on a sloppy track that you see it all the time across the country. A horse that really does nothing, and then boy, they just love the mud. So
so when you're not at the track, you're on the golf course, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your handicap there? That's a big smile. So sounds
I can, when I'm playing regularly, I can shoot 76, 78 on almost every course. Now I'm going to play white tees. I'm going to be 52 this summer. I'm not playing the tips. I will freely admit that. But from the regular tees, I can get you 38, 39, most nines. So
last summer, so you're talking about not playing from the tip. So I went to play a local course here. I shoot, if I shoot really well, I'll probably shoot around 85. I'm just self-taught. I don't play enough. I don't go to the range, but if I'm playing well, I'll shoot around 85. Hit the ball far off the tee at times, and then getting it to the green can be, once I'm on the green, I 2-putt no matter where I am. I can sink some long ones, but it's that 150-yard game in. But anyway, so we're at this course called Oakbrook, which is a nice affluent suburb of Chicago. And my friend and I are waiting, and he's a little older than I am, and I'm 55, so I'm in your age group. And we're going to play. And it's just 2 of us, and we're waiting for another guy to come along. And everybody knows who this guy is. And I don't know who he is. So this dude, he's probably about 75, 80 years old, shows up. So we think, oh, we're going to move up, right? Because we got this 80-year-old dude coming to play with us. He's like, what are you guys doing up here? We're moving back. So he moves us back. And I'm like, come on, dude. What are you kidding me? I've never felt so much pressure in all of my life playing golf. This guy, 80 years old, probably around 5'11", rail thin. He's putting the ball 250, 265 down the middle on every single shot. And he's like, come on, I got to go. The whole time he's got to go somewhere. I never felt so much pressure in my life. So if you ever come to Chicago and you don't want to play from the backs, do not go to Oakbrook, because you might run into that guy. And I'm telling you, it was funny as hell too, because he was really on etiquette. So the guy I was with, Kyle, he took a swing and took a little bit of divot out on the tee box, He's walking back to the cart, and this guy gets so mad at him. He comes walking up with the sand. He's like, "You're supposed to put the sand in the divot." We're just all like, "Oh my God, what did we do? Why do we deserve this?" But anyway, funny golf story. But anyhow, so you got any big winners on tap for Wednesday or you haven't looked at the card yet?
I'm just working through it. I'm about halfway through the card. The one horse that here, let me flip it open real quick. In the 4th race, I'm going to single a horse to start the late. We have 2 pick 4s, and then we have a pick 5. Pick 5 starts in the 4th race, and I'm going to single the 5-horse Custom Cat. He's 9 for 12 on the board at Evangeline Downs. He's only won once, but he has 5 seconds. Has been claimed his last 2 starts, but he comes in fantastic form. And here's a chance for us right off the bat, because there is a Broberg entry in the race with 2 horses that look like they're going to struggle to get the 6.5 for a long distance. But again, I think they're going to take a lot of money because it's a Broberg entry. So I think we can get morning line was put at 9-5 on Custom Cat, but I think they'll probably flip. I think the Broberg entry will take the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we're going to try to start the season. We're going to try to start the season with a live pick 5 with Custom Cat in the 4th race.
Custom Cat, the number 1 in the 4th race.
He's the 5.
He's the 5 horse.
5 in the 4th race.
5 in the 4. A little dyslexia for me. I'm sorry. It happens.
Are you going with the favorites, Thornton and Broberg, to win the jockey and trainer titles?
Yeah, just off of numbers, they're going to be extremely tough to beat. Last year, Broberg started probably 40 or 50 more horses than Eduardo Ramirez, who beat him in the title. Broberg's barn got off to an extremely slow start here last year, and after maybe about a month or 6 weeks in, they started winning, with that regularity. They had a big meet over at Delta Downs. And again, just sheer numbers, Thornton and Broberg are going to be extremely tough to beat.
So on Wednesday, we're actually at 12 noon Eastern, we do a show where we make picks. I don't know if you had a chance to catch that yet. Jared's filling in for Terry, who's usually my co-host. We're actually going to do Evangeline Downs. So it'll be interesting to see how our card stacks up next to yours come Wednesday.
All right. Well, if you follow me on Twitter, at Real Tuel Time is my handle. And I always link my selections from at EVD Racing. They're Tuel Time selections. And then the pick of the night, not always like kind of the best bet, or kind of one that I think will be worth playing, is the red pen selection. So I do all of my handicapping in red. So the red pen selection will be the tout pick. But yeah, at EVD Racing, I put the selections for each day on there. So I try to get them out the morning of the card. So we match them up see what you guys come up with.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure. Well, we appreciate your time. I'm sure you're looking forward to that Kansas game to see if you can collect on that bet. I haven't made mine yet, but I'm probably leaning Kansas too. I don't know about you, Shawn. Where are you leaning on that game?
I got North Carolina.
You got North Carolina.
I think North Carolina wins it. They're going to both go at fast pace. And if Love hits a shot, North Carolina is really tough to beat. And every time it comes down, even if he isn't, the last 2 minutes, he's hitting the shot. So I like North Carolina tonight.
One other thing, the Masters is coming up. Who do you got in the Masters?
Corey Connors.
There's an outside pick for you, right? There's nothing. He's got to Sam Houston. What's the link that you email it? I will email it out. The link to, I don't know what email you're talking, the link to. We'll put the link out to Rob's stuff on Twitter, Instagram, and everything else. And we also link to it, Horse Racing Today. You'll find the Evangeline Downs on the website when you get there, because we aggregate all the free picks online, organized by track at horseracingtoday.net. We appreciate your time, Rob. Good luck on Wednesday. We look forward to call. We're going to look at your picks on Wednesday. We'll share those with the audience when we do our show. And hopefully we hit as many winners as you do.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Enjoyed it. We'll do it again, I hope.
Absolutely. 100% for sure. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Oh, you got the big head again. All right. Let me get this out of here. There we go. Shawn.
There we go.
Always fun. When you tell them we'll be good for 15, 20 minutes. So fortunately, we doubled that up with Rob.
Hey, as long as they're good with it and they don't have anywhere to go and they keep going, we're good.
Indeed.
You can tell when he says he didn't work a day in his life, you can tell he absolutely enjoys what he's doing, which is awesome.
Well, hopefully people enjoyed what Jared and I did today. We were reigning winners at Turf Paradise. I think in the first 7 races, between the two of us, one of us had the winner as our top pick. I think and then his second pick, we both got the hot dog pick 4s. We both got the prime rib pick 4s. I got scratched into the hot dog pick 4, but it was a pretty good day over there. So hopefully we can follow that up tomorrow at Parks Jared and I. And then on Wednesday, as I mentioned, we will be doing Evangeline Downs. Thursday, it looks like we're going to do Aqueduct, Shawn. But before we get to all of that, today might be the last day that ends in Y, Shawn.
We can hope.
We can hope. So you got a couple things out on Bob today. The New York says the NYRA, or NYRA, as the locals call it. Us non-locals, NYRA. They said they're going to uphold, they're going to honor that suspension. And then First Racing, the folks who have Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, Golden Gate, they say the same thing. So it looks like for Bob, this might be the very last day it ends in Y, and we might not hear much about him for 90 days, Shawn.
Yeah, and I believe more horses went to different trainers too. So that happened too. So, there's only
one weekend left.
Yeah, so they're actually doing what you said, and they're all getting together and actually agreeing on this one. So if they could only do that for more things, we could be in a better place.
Exactly right. If these bigger organizations got together, and instead of counting on the federal government, if New York, and I said, right, the Stronach Group, New York, Kentucky, Florida, California, Stronach Group, if they all got together and said, these are the rules we're all going to play by, and if you want your horses to run at our tracks, then you have to play by these same rules wherever you are. Everybody would follow suit because they really wouldn't have much of a choice.
I mean, if they can do this with this thing, they should be able to do it with other things too. So,
as you would think.
Yeah. Never worked out that way.
Never. It's never. Why take the easy route, Shawn? Let's make things more difficult than they need to be. Such is life, right? So down in Florida, the what we call the winter meet came to an end. And Luis Saez, I didn't even realize what a great meet he was having. It just felt like Irad was winning everything, or Jose was winning everything, and then sneaking in from the on the rail was Luis Saez and Joseph Safi Jr. to take the championship. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, Luis Saez, the last 2 years, he was a good jockey before that, but the last 2 years, man, he is just living the high life. It's amazing. Irad hurt himself with the suspensions and everything else, but Luis definitely earned it, and he just went about business every day, and 2-3 wins every day, and you're in the title. And then Safi Joseph, that's his first championship meet title, so you see a young trainer doing good, and we'll see him in the Derby too.
Absolutely, 100% for sure. I know somebody who's happy that these guys are leaving.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, there will be a young lady in South Florida who can't wait to get back to the track.
She's not
all these guys have flown north.
She's not the only one. Everybody left at Gulfstream is very happy about that.
Well, maybe so Safi can give our friend Chantel some rides, and as he wins the summer meet, maybe she can get some of those rides and she can win the summer meet. So we wish her luck in that respect, and everybody else down there, now that there are some more wins available.
Yeah, some good mounts too.
Absolutely. So you mentioned being in the Kentucky Derby. So Safi Joseph Jr. is going to be in the Kentucky Derby. You had 3 races this weekend. So you had Abarrio, Cyberknife, and maybe Tiz the Bomb are going to be Kentucky Derby. So what did you think of the Arkansas Derby, and what did you think of the Florida Derby?
Well, I was impressed with White Abarrio because that horse didn't, it's been winning up front. That horse looked like a monster, 3rd or 4th, just absolutely blew the field away. And Cyberknife ran a good race too. Unfortunately, the filly there had a real wide trip because that move was another great move, and she held her own. If she would have got a better trip, she might have won that race. And Barber Road, John Ortiz, that horse, what's coming too.
Well, he got stuck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you watch the race, he got kind of stuck. Man didn't want to say anything, but if you watch the race, Barber Road had to wait to clear. And then once he cleared, then he was able to get going again. It was even kind of impressive that he was able to re-rev and get moving again, because he really did get stuck and have to wait for a space to make his final move there.
That's a horse that's moved up on my Kentucky Derby watch list. It really was never on my list at all, but with that race and just the consistency, I'm just scared the same type of thing would happen in the Derby. This horse would come and finish 2nd or 3rd and might not quite be able to get there to win.
Well, maybe it cleans up the exacta trifecta because those pools are always big and you can get a nice payout on that. So of the horses that you've seen so far, we've only got the Santa Anita Derby and the Bluegrass Stakes this weekend, and then one smaller race after that. And it's all said and done. The Kentucky Derby qualifying will be over. So of all the horses you've seen so far, Shawn, kind of interesting. I mean, you're not going to see Corniche. I mean, they really held it out. Must be injured, I would think, Shawn. That would be my thinking. Or he didn't come out of that Breeders' Cup race that healthy, is my guess, because why else wouldn't that horse have found a way to try to get into that?
Right. So I would go Epicenter. The other two, I mean, White Abarrio and Barber Road would be the three right now that I'm looking at. But I right now, depending on what the odds are compared to those three, Epicenter would be my top pick.
Yeah, it's that the Louisiana Derby doesn't produce many Kentucky Derby winners, so I'm going to discount Epicenter a little bit. The Florida Derby does indeed put out some Kentucky Derby winners, so I'm going to upgrade White Abarrio a little bit. He ran a nice race, Shawn, that race. I mean, he was patient, and then he ran by him easily. So I think he's got that extra distance, no problem. Usually that translates from the Gulfstream track pretty well to the Churchill track. But you still have the Santa Anita Derby, which is another one that produces some big-time winners that end up doing well in the Kentucky Derby. So let's see who wins the Santa Anita Derby on Saturday. And based upon that, then, of course, our Chris Parmalu will put out his final Kentucky Derby rankings as we start to gear up for the first Saturday in May, Shawn.
Yeah, it's amazing how quick it's got here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the Cyberknife was legit. Jared thinks he's a legit contender. 4-1 in the futures pool. You grab it. I don't know.
Yeah,
the Arkansas Derby does put some in there, but it's not as common as the Santa Anita Derby. And I'm a big believer in patterns, Shawn, as you know. And there's a reason why horses do well at Gulfstream Park, consistently do well at Churchill Downs, and reason why horses that come out of the Santa Anita Derby consistently do well there. So I'm going to stick with that, right?
Yeah, and Cyberknife ran a great race. The only thing I would say is the Philly and Barber Road both get better trips. They may beat Cyberknife there. So
what do you think about Zandon, Shawn? John Rice wants to know, what do you think about Zandon? I don't like the fact that he got out in front of Epicenter, and Epicenter managed to go by him very easily.
Yeah,
usually Epicenter I would expect to have been in front of him.
Yeah, that's a hard pill for me to swallow as well when a horse dominates another horse like that, to think that they're in a reverse tables, reverse form there. Yeah, not on my list right now. Actually, one I'll probably play against, and will probably be single digit odds or whatever. Not something I'm looking at.
So? I don't think it'll be single digit odds.
I don't know. I hear that name a lot.
You're going to get about 5 picks that are going to probably be. So you got to think Epicenter is going to be under 10-1. You got to think White Abarrio is going to be under 10-1. The Santa Anita Derby winner is going to be under 10-1. I would imagine.
Probably Messier and Forbidden Kingdom. Probably both.
So there's 5 horses right there. I don't think you're going to have more than 5 under 10-1. I have 3, 4, maybe 5. And then the rest will be over 10-1. We haven't even talked about Forbidden Kingdom, and I imagine we're going to see what's the horse that Jose run up on that beat Unhoho early voting. That horse is going to run, so we haven't even seen him again. So or Forbidden Kingdom, which we'll see this weekend. So those odds are good. It's going to be an interesting Kentucky Derby. I think it's pretty open.
Yeah, it is, and the odds board is always fun to watch. You don't. Epicenter is probably going to be the clear-cut favorite, but it's not going to beat by much.
Not if Forbidden Kingdom smokes them.
Yes.
If it makes the Santa Anita Derby look easy, then I think that's probably not going to be the case.
Well, whichever one. Even if Messier does it, you'd have the same thing.
Yeah, Classic Causeway, I don't know. After that last race, that Tampa Bay Downs is a whole different ball of wax than running off to Gulfstream or to Santa Anita. So I think he gets really downgraded off that effort, Shawn. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. That was the race there to see how legit he was. And with not such a great performance, it's going to be hard for me to play.
Me as well. Well, I'm looking forward to that. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We'll be focused on that once the Derby Trail has settled all the dust and all the horses have been nominated, qualified, and announced. So that'll be fun to see. I'm looking forward to that, Shawn. We have a pretty action-packed week this week, Shawn. So who do we got coming on the rest of the week? I know Thursday we're supposed to have on Sarge, but unfortunately TBG got jealous and scheduled him in our time spot.
Yeah, exactly. So tomorrow we got up-and-coming jockey at Tampa Bay, Matty Rowland, who's winning a race or two every card almost at Tampa. And then Wednesday we got assistant trainer and TikTok star Electra Boone. Thursday we'll look for a guest to cover Saint Anita and that big race.
And look, and there we are, double us, Shawn. Absolutely fantastic. So if you like what you saw today, folks, please do us a huge favor when you're on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram on Horse Race Today. You see it down there. Please follow us. We're flying up that list to 1,000 real fast. I can see every time Shawn comes on, I can see a little sweat on his brow. He's getting more nervous by the day.
We got a new thing that we got to do now. I mean, I put it out there. What do you really want Swiss Army Shawn to do? Didn't you see this?
No, you don't have a say. What are you talking about? You don't get a say in this.
I left it open to the community.
What did you do? Eat a hot dog or eat a hamburger? I mean, is that what it's going to be?
Stone Cold beer slam.
Oh, come on, man. It's not supposed to be fun. All right. So another quick thing too, Shawn, before we let everybody out of here. I have in my cart. I'm going to order it up today. You can see here, I got the purple number 10, the blue number 3. I'll be adding that to my collection of horse racing today gear today. And today is the very last day. If you want to support the show and support us, show your colors, your HRT colors, baby. Make sure you do that. Head on over to horseracingtoday.net. Click on the HRT gear. Get your 20% off because it expires tonight. And I can tell you we wholeheartedly appreciate it. And once you get it, take a picture, send it off to Shawn on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, and Shawn will post it. And what we'll do is, because we can see people are starting to pick it up, so we appreciate that. And shortly we'll run a contest. Someone will have everybody post their picture wearing HRT gear, and we'll give you we'll send you a second one, Shawn. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm ordering another shirt. I'm ordering the red number 1 t-shirt. This is a sweatshirt, and Blake wants the 1 shirt and hat as well, because Blake is, every time he watches a horse race, he wants that number 1.
Just let him know I'm number 1, Shawn. There's only one number 1 in HRT. That's got.
Well, I should just write Terry on it, on his shirt, number 1, which you can do. You can write anything you want on these shirts. I also found you can order youth sizes as well. That's what I'm ordering Blake as well. You just have to customize it and get in there.
Perfect. Well, I did not know that. And there's also shirts for ladies and guys. So it's whatever fits you, go ahead and take advantage of it, Shawn. All right. Well, that brings us wire to wire for a new week, Shawn. We're already 1/3 the way to your most unfavorite day, Wednesday. Again, Jared and I will be back tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern, hoping to carry the momentum where we had tons of winners today. We are stacking winners on top of winners at Turf Paradise. Hopefully we can do the same tomorrow at Parks. And then again on Wednesday night at Evangeline, Thursday at Aqueduct. We'll be back Thursday night. We don't quite know with who yet. And then Friday, Tom and I will cover some Foreign Friday races. So it should be another action-packed week, Shawn. Looking forward to all of it. Till we catch everybody again. Everybody have a fantastic night and good luck whatever you do. And good luck, Shawn, at the races or something. All right,
Go North Carolina.
Have a great night. Go Kansas, baby. Got to find the right button to say good night. There it is. Good night.